could have been anywhere in the YouTube world. Cheer with me, and I appreciate that. Welcome back to House Zay Views. This episode, I'll be talking about this week's installment of Monday Night Raw, the November 1st installment of Monday Night Raw. I hope everyone's Halloween weekend was spooky, whatever you was doing. I hope you went crazy and had a good time. But let's tap into this week's Raw. So the night starts off with Becky Lynch defending her Raw Women's Championship against Bianca Belair. Now, with championship matches on television, it usually comes down to a non-finish, a little like dirty finish, or the champion just retains. It is rare whenever you see a championship title change on television. So I kind of go into it with little to no expectations just to enjoy the match and see how everything goes down. And that was my mentality going into this match. But both ladies tore it down, man. Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch having a pay-per-view quality contest. Great back and forth. Tore the house down. It comes down to the finish when Bianca tries to go for the KOD. And as she goes for the KOD, Becky Lynch, they were near the turnbuckle, so Becky Lynch ripped the padding off the turnbuckle, was able to push Bianca into the exposed turnbuckle, rolled her up by the tights, 1, 2, 3. She got the dirty win, got the dirty victory. And with that maneuver, she retained the Raw Women's Championship. And it looks like they're going the heel route with Becky. I mean, she was already heel on arrival, just the way that she arrived, stomping out Bianca's momentum that she's had since WrestleMania. Not only doing it, but doing it with a sloppy rock bottom. Nah, for the heat, you knew that they was going to go the heel route. But now it seems like that she's addressing the fact that the crowd has been booing her lately. Later on in the night, she has a little segment, and we'll get there when we get there. But that was the Raw Women's Championship title defense. Becky Lynch retains the belt. So next we get the match between Austin Theory and Rey Mysterio. They have a solid match. The rookie Austin Theory holding his own against the veteran Rey Mysterio. The match comes to its conclusion when Rey attempts to go for the 619, but as he's running towards the ropes, they come back and hit the rest of his finisher. Dominic gets a little sneak, a little punch off on Austin Theory. The referee saw it. I guess he did. To me, it looked like he missed it. I don't know. The referee's head was not turned towards Dominic when the punch got when Dominic pulled the punch off. But I guess he saw it. He rung the bell, said that by disqualification, Austin Theory wins the match. And I like the little dissension that they're teasing between Rey and Dominic. A father-son feud between them two would be dope. But Dominic being a heel would be interesting. But he could be the only one to pull that off. It would be nice to see if Rey was the heel, he was the heel father and Dominic was the babyface son. That would have been an awesome dynamic, especially since we've never seen Rey Mysterio be heel in WWE. Ever since his debut almost 20 years ago, Rey Mysterio has never been heel. So that would be a good, kind of role reversal for Rey Mysterio, especially for it to be on his son. They could even bring in the past that Rey Mysterio had with Eddie Guerrero back in the day in 05 when they had that ladder match for Dominic's custody. Rey could be like, yo, you not even my son for real. That could be a crazy heel story, but they probably not going to do that. But we'll see what they do with it, man. They've been teasing this dissension between the two for weeks. So let's see what they do with the Mysterio. Next, we get a segment from Seth Rollins. In the previous week, he participated in a fatal 4-way number one contenders match with himself and Balor, Rey Mysterio, and Kevin Owens. Seth Rollins won that match, and now he is the rightful number one contender for Big E's WWE Championship. Seth comes out and gloats and says, hey, it's only right that I'm the number one contender since this is my show. This is Monday Night Rollins, and the only component that is missing is the WWE Championship. Big E comes out and, Seth gives him lip for not shaking his hand. I wanted to be fair. I wanted to extend my hand and shake your hand. But you said I had to earn my shot. Now I earned my shot. And now the whole world is going to see that you are not in my league. Now, even though Big E has had tremendous WWE Championship title defenses, this one would definitely solidify him as WWE champion. Would I say that he's on the same level with Seth Rollins? I don't know. These two have had a wonderful feud in the past for the NXT championship, with Big E coming out on top back in the day. So let's see how this turns out now that they have grown so much in their careers. Seth Rollins with his time in the Shield, Big E with his time in the New Day, Seth Rollins with his time with the mid-card championships, Big E with his time as the Intercontinental Champion. And yeah, Seth Rollins has had his time as world champion, but it could be argued that his time, like his title runs weren't as memorable or weren't as crazy. Like maybe the way he won the championships were interesting, like the fact that Seth cashed in Money in the Bank to become WWE champion, and the fact that he finally toppled Brock Lesnar when he became Universal champion, and you know, the whole WWE championship thing that he did with the Shield. But it was quick when he held that belt. It was like a second. As far as them being on different levels, I feel like they're pretty much the same. And this match that they're heading towards, I want Big E to come out on top. He'll definitely look strong if he ends up successfully retaining this championship against Seth, but we'll see what happens, only in due time. As Big E and Seth are having their segment, they get interrupted by Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens goes on to say, hey, listen, even though Seth won the match, people are talking about my performance. And I feel like that even though y'all think that y'all should be the face of Raw, Kevin Owens, should be the face of Monday Night Raw. Then he goes on to say, hey, look, Seth doesn't want to have his match for the championship tonight. He being a little punk. Hey, look, Big E, you and I have never fought, so let's have a match. And Big E agrees, and later on in the night, we'll have a one-on-one confrontation for the first time ever between Big E and Kevin Owens. Next, we get a tag team match between the women's tag team champions Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH going up against the new queen of the ring, Zelina Vega, along with her partner Carmella. Prior to the match, backstage, Zelina and Carmella was walking past Rhea and Nikki. They started talking mess about Nikki's mask, and it just leads to this match. They have a quick little tag team match. I hate when they do the whole thing that, oh, if these guys can beat the champions, then they get their shot at the belt. I miss rankings. I miss the whole number one contender concept, this whole 50-50 booking thing. I don't know. I've complained about the way that WWE is booked in the past. But the way this tag team match went down, Carmella and Zelina would end up winning, implicating that they're definitely going to get their shot at the women's tag belts. I feel like to elevate Zelina more as being the queen of the ring, she definitely needs a belt around her waist, and I don't think they're going to put in a Raw Women's Championship picture anytime soon. So slapping a tag team championship on her and Carmella as they go back and forth, even though Zelina is the queen, Carmella has a huge ego. So they can have a little back and forth going. They could tease a little breakup between them if they want to, using the women's tag team championships as leverage. Smooth booking with that, man. So let's see what they do with Zelina Vega and Carmella now that it seems like that they are the number one contenders for the women's tag belts. Next, we get a real funny backstage segment between Chad Gable and Big E. Chad tries to initiate Big E into the Alpha Academy, and Big E's like, listen, I don't want to be some meathead drone like Otis, so I'll be alright. So then we get a little quick standoff between Otis and Big E, and Big E looks at Otis like, dag, yo, look what they did to your face. Because Otis used to have the scruffy beard, now he cut the beard, he looked crazy. I think he called him a human thumb, like he called him a big ass thumb or something like that. It's just funny. After that, we get a quick one-on-one match between Chad Gable and Finn Balor. They have a crazy one-on-one. Even in certain points of the match, you really thought Chad Gable had it down pat. You thought Chad Gable had Finn Balor's number. A few times where Chad Gable just had Finn won. Finn at one point tries to go for the coup de grace to end the match, but Chad cuts him off, hits him with the superplex off the top rope. But once the superplex connected to the mat, Finn Balor wisely cradles Chad's legs to get the pin off. 1, 2, 3, and Finn wins this match clean. Finn goes on with some good momentum, even though he was in the King of the Ring match and lost. Even though he was in the Fatal 4-Way number one contenders match and lost, Finn is still looking strong. Finn is still looking strong with this win that he got off on Chad Gable. Next, we get a tag team match between the Street Profits and the Dirty Dogs. They are looking for their shot at the Raw Tag Team Championships. Even though during the match, we had Randy Orton and Chad Gable over on commentary, and Randy Orton name dropped Alpha Academy. So I wonder what they're going to do with Chad Gable and Otis now that the champions name dropped them. But even when that whole thing is going down, we still have this match between the Street Profits and the Dirty Dogs. It gets interrupted similar to last week by Omos. Omos getting involved in a match. He goes after the Street Profits individually, so I wonder what that's going to lead to. He's beating them up, but after the Dirty Dogs dipped off so they wouldn't get involved in what's going on. Matt Riddle came to the rescue to save the Street Profits. Randy Orton tries to stop him, but Matt Riddle goes off anyway. Omos takes care of Matt Riddle, and then we get a little standoff between Randy Orton and Omos. So I wonder what's going to happen with that. It'll be nice to get like a fatal 4-way Raw Tag Team Championship match. We got the Dirty Dogs, we got the Street Profits, we got Alpha Academy. We got 5 teams. We got Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, the tag champs, and then we got Styles and Omos. I wonder where Styles has been these past couple weeks, but we'll see what they do with the Raw Tag Team Championship title picture and what they do with the contenders. Next, we get a no disqualification match between TBar and the United States champion Damien Priest. Now these two, they have a crazy match. TBar letting the crowd know, letting the WWE fan base know who he is, man. He had a nice little showing during this match, and if you don't know who TBar is, man, look, do your research on Donovan Dijakovic. Do your research on Donovan Dijak. He was getting money in NXT and Ring of Honor, like, so he could get busy in the ring. Don't sleep on T-Bar. But they have a crazy match. A highlighted spot for me is when T-Bar did the choke slam, but instead of slamming him on the mat, he slammed him on his knee. And I don't know how Damien Priest took that bump, but he looked like he was in pain for the remainder of that match. But Damien Priest wins the match. He choke slams T-Bar on the outside of the ring through the table, hits the Reckoning in the ring for the 1-2-3, and Damien Priest retains the United States Championship. After the match, he gets interrupted by Apollo Crews with Commander Aziz right by his side. Apollo pretty much staying his claim for the United States Championship, and Apollo had a good run on SmackDown with the Intercontinental Championship. So I wonder what they're gonna do with him. We're going into this feud with Damien Priest. I would love to see Apollo with the United States title. Prior to the main event, we get a segment of Becky Lynch pretty much justifying her actions in the main event and why she did what she did to retain the Raw Women's Championship, saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with getting ahead. There's nothing wrong with doing what you gotta do to keep your championship. These fans are fickle. I don't care how they feel about me. Bianca gotta get to the back of the line. There's no more of that. And then as she's talking, she gets interrupted by Liv Morgan. And instead of saying something back, Becky just walks away. So it looks like we're getting Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan in some way, shape, or form. And I can't wait to see how Liv Morgan takes her time to shine, man. She's definitely been on the roster for mad long. She's the last surviving member of the Riot Squad, with Ruby Soho doing her thing over in AEW. And wherever Sarah Logan is out there getting money, hope you're doing your thing. But let's see what Liv Morgan does now that they put her up to the #1 contender spot for the Raw Women's Championship. I'm looking to see what Liv Morgan got for us, man. And now the main event, WWE Champion Big E, Kevin Owens, they have a scrap. Kevin Owens showing us a little bit of his Kevin Steen, man. Taking Big E on the outside, doing the senton on the outside, Big E taking all of Kevin Owens. Then in the inside, Kevin Owens doing the Swanton Bomb, Big E taking all of it, like all that weight just crashing down on Big E, man. He was taking a beating throughout this match, but Big E was getting this shine on, man, getting this grind on. Towards the end of the match, Seth hits a little sneak shot on Big E, but Kevin Owens peeps it, and Kevin Owens becomes conflicted. He's like, man, yo, this is not the way I wanted to win this match. Why did you have to get involved? So he's a little hesitant at first, but then he goes to try to pin Big E. But instead of getting his pin off, Big E rolls him into the crucifix pin. Quick 1-2-3, and Big E wins the match. Afterwards, Kevin Owens goes off and he blames Seth like, you SOB, this is your fault. I want to see you in a one-on-one match next week. And then as Seth is just dipping off out the arena, Kevin Owens comes to Big E. He says, hey, man, listen, I'm so sorry, yo. I didn't want to do that, man. Listen, like, I didn't want him to get involved. What happened. You got to understand, this is not the way I wanted it to go down. And then Big E was just like, especially when Kevin Owens tried to put his hand on his shoulder, all Kevin Owens got for his trouble was a big ending. So I guess that we are going to slide into Kevin Owens becoming a heel, and they need more definitive heels right now as far as what they have in their roster. Not people that are heels because we don't like them, Happy Corbin. No, heels who are definitive heels. Like, they do bad guy shit, and like, you know, they are the opposition to the good guy, man. We need definitive heels, not heels because we don't like them, heels because they're doing their job well. So if you're familiar with Kevin Owens in NXT doing this thing as a heel back then, if you're familiar with his job as Kevin Steen in Ring of Honor, what he was doing with the whole scum wave and his time as Ring of Honor champion, yo, do your research on these guys. If you don't know your history on these guys, do your research on these guys. But anyway, Big E wins that match. We tease a little thing with Kevin Owens. Is he gonna remain face? Is he gonna turn heel? But we'll see what happens in the weeks coming up, man. We are in November. We are coming up on Survivor Series, and let's see what WWE got in store for us going up to this event, man. This is the November 1st installment of Monday Night Raw. And you know what? This episode of Monday Night Raw was smooth. I'm not going to say it was immaculate. I ain't going to say it was mid. It was smooth. Like, I have no complaints with this episode. It didn't feel like the usual 3 hours that we would get from Monday Night Raw. You see that they were teasing new rivalries. They were teasing new turns. So let's see what we get in the future going up to Survivor Series, getting closer to there. You know they're going to do the whole brand warfare thing, champion versus champion. I want to see what they do with Big E. With the pass between the New Day and the Shield, they could easily have, you know, the WWE champion versus Universal champion match between Big E and Roman. But then it's the past and the history that Roman and Seth have. So they could even have Universal champion Roman Reigns versus WWE champion Seth Rollins. They could go a lot of different routes setting up for Survivor Series. So I'm looking forward to see what they do in the following weeks. Until then, thank you for coming back to House Zay Views for your, you know, little wrestling review of the week when it comes to our beautiful Monday Night Raw. Like I always say, please, if you can, like, share, subscribe, turn them notifications on, engage, and I'll holla at you. Peace.